Hello everyone, Sarah here at Three Little Potters, and today I am reviewing Lapis Flow, one of the new Amaco glazes. Out of the 4 new ones, I felt like this one was probably the one I'm most excited about. I'm hoping we can find some great combos with this glaze today. Let's jump right in. I'm going to do a coat of it on Brown Bear clay by Kentucky Mudworks. I don't have much left for samples in Brown Bear clay, so that's why it's going on this alpine sort of little house for Christmas, and hopefully I won't regret that. The roof has some nice texture on it, so I'm hoping that'll still show through with this glaze. Not positive though. The samples online were few since it's new, and it's hard to kind of know what you're doing without any samples. So I'm testing it out for everybody, and hopefully it will be helpful. So that is my first coat there. While my first coats are drying, I'm going to go ahead and put it on some other tests. So this has 2 brush coats of eggplant, and I'm going to put a coat right over that. Interested to see if that brings out a more true purple. What else do I have? What's that? Oh, this is, what is that? No, okay, this is eggplant on Sheltoe clay. I would have done just a sample with just the Sheltoe clay, but this was coated from long ago, so we will try this combo over 2 different clays and see what that looks like. Okay. So Lapis Flow ×1 over ×2 eggplant on Sheltoe. This is Lunar Pink. 2 brushed coats of the Lunar Pink. And we'll try that. Ooh, okay, what else is next? Okay, this has 2 brushed coats of Ancient Copper on either side, with sort of that gap in the middle is completely bare clay. So I'm gonna slop a very thick coat right in the middle. This has 2 brushed coats of Cirrus Flow. All right, I'm going to take a break from those new ones and go back in and put a second coat on all of these. So I do all my coats pretty much the same way. And I know that this particular little dish is very wonky in shape, and that is because it is the Papaya Porcelain by Amaco, and I find that clay incredibly hard to work with. So 2 coats there. All right, I'm going to do the rest of these, and then I'll be right back. All right, this little dish has been dipped in night glaze. That is my Hansen 20x5 glaze with 5% Best Black Mason stain. A little bit similar to obsidian. There's 1 brushed coat over that. This is my Studio White glaze, just 1 quick dip in there. Variegated Dove Gray. I wasn't kidding, I'm doing a wide test on this glaze. What else do I have? Okay, this is my June Purple. That's a chrome tin purple. So we'll see if there's any weird reactions with some of the ingredients. Two brushed coats of winter wood on this one. Chun Seafoam. That's the mixed glaze. There's a video about it on my channel. Most recent version of Chun Seafoam has 2 grams of bentonite added in, and I'm having a lot better luck. I've basically taken out the CMC and I'm just using that 2 grams of bentonite, and it's behaving in the bucket very well. Two to 3 second dip on that one. So a little longer than I normally dip, but I'm getting better coverage that way. Nebula Blue by Laguna. That's a dip of that. Quick dip, like unless I'm holding the micro pearl, but I don't think I am. We'll figure it out in the end. This is Honey Flux. Some of these are very similar in color when they're at this stage, so it's kind of hard to tell them apart. This micro pearl bowl, I'm going to go ahead and gamble with. I'm going to go ahead and put full coat in the middle here. Hopefully this will be a pretty combo. Could end in disaster. Who knows? Okay, so I'm doing 1 coat there, and I think I'm going to add something else. This one's going to be my control, so this is going to have 3 brushed layers and nothing else. This with the papaya clay is going to have 3 brushed layers, but I'm going to layer down on the outside a little bit. So that 3rd coat's only going to here. And once that dries, I'm going to put a little bit of flux on that rim too. For this one, I'm going to put Aurora Breeze. So a thick coating of Aurora Breeze over the 2 brushed layers. If I should do a little bit of Aurora Breeze on our big one too. I'm going to do that. I'm going to put a stripe of Aurora Breeze. Although I still think I'm going to do another glaze too. So for this little house, I'm going to keep just 2 layers on the side with the texture, but I'm going to do 3rd layer on the front, and maybe the chimney. And just on the peak of the roof, I'm going to put just a little bit of flux. That's dirty snow as a flux. So we're going to leave that just like that. All right, for this little one, I'm going to do Bougainvillea. That's one of the Spectrum floating glazes. I'm not sure if that will be my favorite color with this, but if I don't see any crawling here, then I can test a lot of the other floating glazes. Perhaps maybe floating Celadon would be pretty with this color palette. But sometimes you just never know how the glazes will react. Sometimes you get a surprising color. I'm also going to go ahead and put Moon River over this little teeny one. I've seen some pretty results. That was one of the few that I did see online where people putting Lapis Flow and Moon River together to sort of see what that would do. So going to try Floating Lavender. I think that could have been a little drier before I put that on, but it'll be okay. Last one, last one. I think, oh. I think I'm gonna do lavender mist. Oh, you okay? Okay, I knocked a little glaze off the edge, but it's okay. Cover it over with the lavender mist. All right. There goes lavender mist. Hopefully that's a pretty combo. And for my papaya dish, the last thing I'm going to do for that is just a little swipe of just kind of a random application there of dirty snow. There, all ready for the kiln. I'll be firing these tonight. I go to it's my standard drop hold schedule. I'll go up to, what is it set at now? I think 22:15, something like that. And then I'll drop 100 degrees and let it set there for 30 minutes before sort of cooling it off. Yeah, I'm excited to see how these look. Forgot we have one last big bowl. So I am going to go ahead and put a layer of fuzzy peach on the inside too. Oh, that's what it looks like. A dip of micro pearl. Then we have Lapis Flow on the inside into here. A little bit of Aurora Breeze at the top and some fuzzy peach. The results are out of the kiln and I couldn't be happier with this glaze. It is really, really pretty. Yeah, it's just, it does some really interesting things. Yeah, this one here, it does this electric blue to purple thing in some instances that I just think is incredible. But let's look over at the photo table so that you can see these closer up. I'm going to start here with the control, and this is just ×3, although really ×1 here, just because it was so small, it was hard to get out. So when it's thin, it's definitely not as pretty. I liked 3 coats with this. The control on brown bear clay was a lot less intense than I was thinking. I was really thinking we were going to get some coverage over this dark clay, but really didn't. I will probably try to refire this and see if I can get anything to stick to it. Surprisingly, it did okay on my night glaze. I really thought this would be plain black, especially after seeing how it did on brown bear clay, because that's essentially a dark surface. This is a dark surface, but here it really just did really pretty things. So that's a dip of night and then ×1 of Lapis Flow over top. Now this did have some crawl spots here, and I think this may be the clay. It's definitely a strange, this is Dragon Fruit Light, and I had sort of trouble with it across the board, but this was Micro Pearl and Lapis Flow over top. So Micro Pearl and Lapis Flow, really pretty together. So this is Lapis Flow by itself, and when we sort of compare it to over Micro Pearl, I feel like it didn't really need the Micro Pearl. It almost has enough by itself. This does have a little bit of flux on this inside rim, and you can see that flux sort of bringing out a green tone, green-yellow tone before it changes over to purple. It did go thin on the rim, so sometimes if you're using a speckled clay, I'll do a more stable glaze on the rim so that it'll break less over that texture. But yeah, the clay base is that really interesting papaya color. So yeah, by itself and then over Micro Pearl, I think I like that by itself, actually. It's just a strong glaze alone. This is 2 times Lapis Flow and then a coat of Aurora Breeze over top. And that Aurora Breeze really just sort of combined into the glaze. You're not really seeing the individual spots, well, maybe in a few areas here, just a little bit, but it's really just sort of contributing to that overall electric blue vibe that this glaze seems to provide. In the middle of this cup, I tried to use it as a refire. So this was originally Shipwreck and Storm, and then I put a little bit of the Lapis Flow on the inside to fill in a spot that had crawled, and that worked really well. This is another one that was not included in the Glaze Long portion. This is a sort of a multi-combo. So this was originally dipped in Night. It has a layer of River Birch on it and then a layer of Lapis Flow. And you can see that there's a lot of potential there. Over Winter Wood, it stayed pretty matte. So that's ×2 of Winter Wood and then ×1 of Lapis Flow. So I would think you'd really need to go maybe ×3 of Lapis Flow over Winter Wood if you wanted a more gloss surface. Here's that micro pearl sample a little bit more close up. Can kind of give you an idea of what it might do on a vertical. So definitely trending a little bit browner when over certain glazes. And you can see that again here with the micro pearl underneath on this big bowl, that it's definitely, where it pulls down, you're getting some interesting purple too. But yeah, a little bit more brown tone in there. So I think I prefer Lapis Flow by itself rather than over micro pearl. But it is nice to have the micro pearl base to catch those drips. The inside of this had 2 brush coats of Lapis Flow, then Aurora Breeze on that outer edge, and then Fuzzy Peach there. It definitely has a lot of movement to it, and here this is the dominant color. It's definitely overpowering those things that I added. When over my Studio White glaze, it's just a really pretty vibrant blue. And you can see over Studio White, it's really not moving at all. It's staying put. So that's my spotty brush stroke. So not very forgiving as far as that goes. This is a dip of Chun Seafoam and Lapis Flow over top. And see if you can see that rainbow metallic a little bit here. Very glossy, and this is a combo that had a lot of movement to it. You can see even though it was just applied really just on that very tip top rim, I did get it coming down a little bit there and there. Results over Laguna's Nebula Blue, also sort of showing some of that brown that we got from micro pearl as well. But interestingly, still these little hints of sort of purple and vibrant blue. So this was a dip of Laguna, Nebula Blue by Laguna, and then 1 brush coat of Lapis Flow. When I first pulled this out, I thought perhaps I was looking at more than 2 glazes, but I think this is just the brown you're seeing. So this is Nebula Blue with Lapis Flow. Started trying to sort these, I really realized how many tests I had run. This is my variegated Dove Gray, Lapis Flow over top. I thought the Spectrum Floating Glazes looked quite incredible on this. Interesting pattern. You know, I love when these patterns happen without you having to do anything. You know, you're not specially applying the glaze, you're just swiping it on, and then you're getting something that's a surprise. So this is Bougainvillea over 2 brushed coats of Lapis Flow, 1 time Bougainvillea. And this is Lapis Flow over my mixed glaze, June Purple. And I have to say, this glaze did well over even all of my mixed glazes. It really added something across the board. So 1 brushed coat over 1 dip of June Purple. Amaco's new Floating Lavender, ×1 over 2 times brushed Lapis Flow. Over Honey Flux here. So 2 brush coats of Honey Flux and then 1 brush coat. Less incredible than some of the other ones. I might save my Honey Flux for something else. Strontium Gloss with Manganese. That's a dip of that, and that is a mixed glaze. And 1 bit of, not a full, more of a rim coating of Lapis Flow there. inside of 2 bands of ancient copper. So that center section was left blank when I filled that in. And that ran a lot, but that was my application of that ancient copper being a little too heavy and a little too close to the bottom. Otherwise pretty. So I found this to be an interesting result. This seems to be lapis flow over eggplant, one on Sheltoe clay and one on B-mix. So 2 brushed coats, although I think this is just 1 brushed coat of eggplant, probably accidentally by my part, and then lapis flow over both. And here we have it over lunar pink in 2 different clays. Sorry about my dog. So ×2 lunar pink, ×1 lapis flow. That's the B-mix sample. I think that's the prettier one. And this was with the Sheltoe clay. ×1 lapis flow over ×2 cirrus flow. Watch that combo, it looks like it wants to move. Lavender mist over lapis flow. Again, you know, really watch that ×1, but at the same time, when you're getting ×2, it's really moving. So, you know, if I was doing this on a cup, I'd use a different base glaze at the bottom to avoid that, but to stop the runs when it's ×2 or 3. And here we have the other new glaze, Moon River, over 2x lapis flow. Pretty. So for me, this glaze is a real winner. I feel like it's a unique glaze. I don't know that I have anything that breaks blue purple like that. I feel like sometimes, but not like this. It has a sort of intensity to its color, and it's definitely has a wow factor. When you open it up, you're like, oh, it did that? Oh, that's really awesome. And you know, for the most part, it behaved itself. It looked good. It didn't do a bunch of crawling. I feel like this is a strong glaze. For me, this is on the definite buy list. I don't know if it might be that for you or not. I'd love to hear in your comments, what do you guys think about this glaze? Is this going to be a good seller for my Etsy shop? Do we like this color? Let me know, and thank you for watching. I'd love it if you liked and subscribed, but if you made it to the end, you're probably already subscribed, but thank you for watching.